Begin the Gemara today on Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, 6 lines down from the top of the Amud. The Gemara here continues halachas regarding a mavoi, an alley. There are two kinds of alleyways. There's an alleyway that is like a dead end, where you have the courtyards that open into this alleyway, and the alleyway opens into the main street, but on the other end of the alleyway it's closed off. Then there's an alleyway that's open from both sides, and there's streets on one side, there's streets on the other side, and it cuts through. That's what the Gemara is going to begin with here. So, when you have this alleyway that's open on both ends, on one end there's one city with its streets, then on the other end, on the other side, there's another city. The people of the city that these courtyards and this alleyway is sort of more built in their city, they want to close off the other side of the alleyway that opens to the other city, so that people from the other city shouldn't use this as a shortcut to come into the city. So it says the Gemara that so the people of that city can prevent them of closing it off. Once it's an established route, there's an established shortcut that people from the other city come through here, and now these people want to close it off, they don't have the right to close it off. It's already muhsik, they have this as a pathway to go through, you're not allowed to close it. And the Gemara clarifies, needless to say, if there's no other route to enter from that other city into this city, so for sure they're not allowed to close it off. This is their pathway to come into the city. Even if there's another way how to get into the city, so even if you're going to close off this alleyway, they'll have another way to enter, it doesn't matter. Nami ma'akvi, they can also hold back the people of the city of closing off that end of the alleyway. And the reason is, Mishum de Rav Yudah Marav. This is based on what Rav Yudah said in the name of Rav. The Omar, or the Bachir adds, Omar Rav Yudah Marav, Meitzer Shechzika by Rabim, a pathway that many people already established it as a way, as a shortcut. That's even in a private property, as long as it was established with the proper rights, with permission, not just by stealing it. So later on, Asr lekalkalei, you're not allowed to stop people from going through this pathway. And similar, well, according to one Girse, Rav Gidl, the Omer of Gidl also said, Rabim shebiriru derech la'atzmam, many that chose a certain pathway for themselves, ma shebiriru biriru, the pathway they have, you're not allowed to take it away from them. Omer Avana Mashmol, Avana said another halacha in the name of Shmuel, Muvois Hamufaloshin l'Rishus Harabim. These alleyways that have an opening to the main street in the Rishus Harabim. Ubikshu b'nei Muvois, the people of the courtyard that are using this alleyway wanted to lahamed lahen dlasais, to put up doors by the entrance of this alleyway to prevent people from the street to get into this alleyway. Says the Gemara, b'nei Rishus Harabim ma'akfen aleim. The people of the Rishus Harabim could prevent them from putting up these doors at the entrance of this alleyway. The reason is because when there's going to be a lot of traffic, people of the street have sort of used that entrance of the alleyway to make their way through. And they have sort of that chazakah in this way to even push themselves into the alleyway to get through. And as we just said, once there's that chazakah, you can't take it away from them. So by putting up the door, you're blocking their space that they would have to go through. The Gemara said, they thought to explain that what did the Shmuel mean to say, Hanin mili b'dal damas. When is this the case? If they want to build a door within the first 4 amas by the opening of this alleyway. So that's preventing the people that are traveling in the street to be able to go through and use that space by the opening. Like Rav Zera said in the name of Rav Nachman, Rav Zera said in the name of Rav Nachman, Daled amis, hasmuchos for the Rishus Harabim, 4 amas in a space of a courtyard or an alleyway that's close to the Rishus Harabim, Rishus Harabim Damyan. It has the halacha like the Rishus Harabim itself. Now Rav Nachman said this halacha regarding the halacha of Sofik Tumah. Any Sofik Tumah in the Rishus Harabim is going to be Toher. In Rishus HaYachid it's Tami, but in Rishus Harabim it's Toher. So he's saying this, that it has the status of Rishus Harabim, but it's close enough. But the Gemara says that, though, does not apply here. V'loyi, that comparison is not true. The Hasam, Linyan Tumah. There it's to define whether it's considered to be a public place for Tumah, that it would be a suffix, would be Tahir. Avol Hacha, but here it's something else. Because Zimnin, the Dochki B'nei Rishus Harabim, V'ayli Tuva. Sometimes the people of the Rishus Harabim are going to push their way in, and they usually go into this alleyway even further deeper than 4 amas. So they have that right to be able to push their way through in the busy rush hour putting up a door, even if you're putting up the doors further inside, takes away that ability from them to travel. Going back to the Mishnah, when the Mishnah speaks about partners that own a field together and they want to divide. So when could one force the other to divide? So the Mishnah said, that one can't force the other to divide this field unless there's enough for each one to plant 9 kav. And then the Mishnah brought Rav Yuda's opinion that said that even if each one has only space to plant 9 half kav, that's good enough. Says the Gemara on this, there's no argument here. Mar ki asrei, umar ki asrei. Each one was according to what it was in his place. That if it's a good land, if it's very, very good quality, then it pays to plant even much smaller, and you'll invest in that. But if it's a place where it's not such good quality, so then it has to be double the size in order for it to pay to plant separately. Says the Gemara, Bavel Mai. So over here in Bavel, what is the minimum size of a field that a person can use and he can plant in it separately? Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef, Beiradu Yoime, a field that you plow it and it takes 1 day to plow the whole field. That's the size. Okay, so now the Gemara asks this, my Beiradu Yoime. When he said this shear of plowing 1 day, which plowing is referred to? So the continuation here of the Gemara is based on the fact that they would plow the field twice. Once at the beginning of the season when they would be planting, and once in the end of the season. After harvest, they would plow the field again to take out all the roots and weeds that are left over from the previous season. So now which plowing are we talking about? The plowing that you do in the beginning of the season is much easier and quicker because it was already plowed once before at the end of the previous season. The plowing that's done at the end of the season after harvest takes longer. The earth is harder and you have to take out the roots and so on. So which plowing are we talking about? And the Gemara says either way it's going to come out a problem. Because if you meant to say that it's an area that takes 1 day to plow when you plant, then it comes out today when they're going to be plowing in such an area after the season, it's going to be less than 2 days. It's going to be, let's say, about 1.5 days. That's how long it's going to take. So Rashi says, what's the issue? In such a case, it's inconvenient. The person doesn't want to plow 1.5 days because he has to rent oxen to do the work. He has to rent workers to do the work. So usually you rent by the full day. But over here, if it's a job that takes 1.5 days, so it's sort of, you're stuck. Nicht daher, nicht dahin. On the other hand, if what he meant to say is that it's a full day to plow it. At the end of the season, so that's something that takes longer, it's more work, then it would come out. In the beginning of the season, when it's going to come to plant, it's going to take less than a day to do the planting. So therefore, it's also a size which is nishtahar and nishtahim because it's less than a day. So what did he mean to say? Why did he say this shear of a day of plowing? So the Gemara says we can explain it in 2 ways. If you want, I can say Yoime de Karbe. He meant to say that it's a day of the plowing in the time when it's the end of the season. That's the 1 day that it takes to plow. Now, the question was, if so, when it comes to the planting is going to be less than a day. So it's sort of not a good shear. So then that answer is the Karev Vitani. No, true, the plowing on the planting time is easier and it takes quicker, but actually when they plow twice. Once before you throw in the seeds to make it open and soft for the seeds to go in, and then after you throw in the seeds, you plow again that the seeds should go in well. So because they plow twice, it comes out to be the same like the day that they plow after the season. Or if you want, you can say Yoime de Zara. That really what he meant to say is the day that they plant and you plow, it takes a full day to plow. The question was, if so, when it comes to the day of plowing after the season, it's going to take 1.5 days, so it's not a full 2 days, so it's not a good shear. So that the answer is that what we're talking about over here is Behaduri, that it's a field that's very tough, it's very hard. So when it comes to the day at the end of the season, it's going to actually take 2 full days to plow the field, and therefore this is the shear in Bavel for dividing a property, dividing this field. Davla, the Gemara now discusses another case. What happens if partners own a pit of water and one wants to split with the other this pit of water? So what is considered to be that there's enough water in it that they can split? Rav Nachman says, Beidalu Yoime Pardeise. If each one can take from it enough water to water a vineyard for 1 day, so that's enough water to split between them. Amar Avu de Shmuel. Sorry, I read this wrong. So you have to. It's separated. Bedalu yoyme. When to have enough water to water for a day for your field. Okay. Now the Gemara discusses another case. Pardese, a vineyard. What's considered to be large enough for a vineyard to divide between partners? Amar Avu de Shmuel. So the father of Shmuel said, Bas shleishes kavim, the size of 3 kav. Tanya nami hachi. In a brayso we learned as well. A person says to his friend, I'm selling you a portion in a vineyard, a certain amount in a vineyard. And he didn't specify how much that is. Sumcha says, what's considered to be that minimum amount? You shouldn't give him less than an area of a vineyard, less than 3 kav. On this, Rav Yosi says about this shear, Ein elu ela divrei nevius. This is just like words of prophecy. In other words, it has no basis. Like a person hears a prophecy and it's beyond any reasoning. You're giving a shear that has no reason. That's the way Rashi explains it. So in other words, he disagreed with this shear of 3 kav. According to other Rishonim, that he was actually saying in the positive, that the shear that you're giving is like nevius. That the only way you could know such a shear is through nevius. He was endorsing what he said. Now the Gemara says, "Bavel mai." In Bavel, how do you divide a vineyard? What's the minimum that one has to get in order to divide it? Amar Rava Bar Kasna said, Tlas Atziasa has to be 3 rows, B'nei Teresa Gufni, and each row has 12 vines. That's the minimum you have to have in order to get to divide it. The reason is because then, if you have to do work in it, to dig in it and so on, so there's work for a full day, so that's the minimum amount that you hire a worker to do the work for you for 1 day. Now, because the Gemara over here brought a brayse that Rabbi Yosi made a comment on what Sumcha says, that his psak din is like a prophecy, so the Gemara here gets into a whole discussion about prophecy after the time of the Churban. Amar Rav Avdimi from Chayfa said, Miyayim shechara Beis HaMikdash, from the day that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Nitla Nevuah min HaNeviim, prophecy from the Nevi'im was taken away from them. And Mepharshim say this must be referring to the first Beis HaMikdash, because we don't find Nevi'im after the Churban of the first Beis HaMikdash. But v'nitna l'chachamim, prophecy though was given to the Chachamim, which means, in the literal sense, it means that Chachamim have a level of prophecy, but some Rishonim say it means that Chachamim have the ability through their Chachmah to learn and understand on a very deep level, similar to the Kayach of Nevuah. So the Gemara asks on the way of Avdimi's statement, Atu Chacham Lav Naviu, is someone that's a Chacham not a Navi. He makes it sound like that in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, those that were Nevi'im, they were not Chachamim. They were just Nevi'im. And now Nevuah was taken away and given to Chachamim. So the Gemara says, now Hachi Kama, this is what he meant to say. Afal pi shenitla min neviim, even though prophecy was taken away of those neviim that were not chachamim, but min chachamim, from those that were also chachamim, lo nitla, it was not taken away from them. Those that were chachamim still have the koyach of nevuah. Okay, that's the simple pshat of the Gemara. As I mentioned, somebody trying to say it doesn't mean nevuah in the literal sense. The Ramban here says it refers to a level of ruach hakodesh that you could learn and understand and explain with Ruach HaKodesh, but not the Nevuah in the literal sense. Amar Ameimer says, V'chacham adif minovi. We can see that a person that's a chacham is actually even on a higher level. You can come to a deeper understanding more than a prophet. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, V'novi levav chachma, that a navi has the heart of the one that's wise. Now, what do you see from here? We're saying that the navi also has wisdom. Mi nitla b'mi. Who do you compare to who? Have a aimer kata nitla begadol. You want to say that someone that's on a smaller level, that he also has a certain quality of someone that's on a higher level. So over here, when you're saying that the Nevi'im also have chachma, that means that even a Navi also has chachma, which is on a higher level. So you see that chachma is something on a higher level. In Chassidus it says that the reason why chacham is adif mi Navi is because a Navi sees. What he sees openly, but he only sees up to a certain level. With Chachma, you could see beyond that level. You don't see, but with the understanding and the clarity that you could have in Seichel can go beyond that level that you see in Nevuah. Amar Abaye says, Teida, I'll prove to you that there's Nevuah even today by the Chachamim. We see there can be one great person that says a statement in Teira, and then there's another great Amayra or Tana that says the same statement like someone else. How does he say the same exact statement as him? So it must be that it's a Nevuah. Oh, Marove, so Rava says about that. That's not a proof. My kushya. What's the wonder? How one could say the same as another? Vidilme tavayu b'nei chad mazalinu. Maybe these are two people that have one similar, same mazel. So therefore, one says the same statement as the other. Elo Marove, so therefore Rava says, Teida, I'll prove to you that there's nevuah today. The Amar Gavra Rabba Milse, a great person says a statement in Teida, and then Misamar Mishmei de Rabba Kiva. And then we find out that Rabbi Kiva, the great Tana Rabbi Kiva, says like him. So to say that he and Rabbi Kiva have the same mazel, you can't say that. So how is he saying something exactly like Rabbi Kiva without hearing it from Rabbi Kiva? Must be that he has nevuah. Ravashi asks on this, so my kushya, what's the question? What's the proof? Dilme laha milsa bar mazliyo. Yeah, he's not as great as Rabbi Kiva, but regarding this matter, he has a mazel he can understand like Rabbi Kiva and say like Rabbi Kiva. Elo Ravashi, therefore Ravashi says, I'll prove to you that there's nevuah today, because Teida, the Amar Gavra Rabba Milsa, a great person says the halacha, and then halacha l'Moshe Misinai kavasei. And then we find out that this is really halacha l'Moshe Misinai, like the statement that he said. So how is he saying something, and it's just like a halacha l'Moshe Misinai? It must be that he understands it with his chachma, and his chachma has in it a koyach of nevuah. But the Gemara asks, who says that's the case? V'dilme kasuma ba'aruba. Maybe he's just like a blind person that's on a rooftop and he's just feeling his way around and he just finds this skylight and he can go into the house through the skylight without even realizing that it's there. He's just totally blind. So maybe here, this chacham that says this halacha, he just happens to say it and somehow he's mechaven to this halacha l'Moshe Misinai. Says the Gemara, no, it's not like a person that's blind. V'lav, tam yov, the chacham that's saying this, isn't he saying it with reason? He thought about it and he comes to this conclusion. So we see that through his chachma, he has a kayach to reach something on a level of nevuah to be mechaven to this halacha l'Moshe Misinai. So that's the proof. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, Miyayim shechara beis hamikdash nitla nevuah min hanaviyim. From the day that Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, prophecy was removed from the Nevi'im, but v'nitna l'shaitim u'latinoikis. But it was given over to shaitim, to fools or mentally deranged people, and to little children. The shaitim ma'i, where do we see that it's given to shaitim? Kiha the Mar Baravashi. It was once a story with Mar Baravashi, Davakoi Beristike the Mechuza. He was in the street, in the marketplace in Mechuza. Shamei lahu shaita de kahamari. He heard this shaita saying, Reish Misifta, the head of the yeshiva, the Malach b'Masa Mechasya, that will rule in the yeshiva of Masa Mechasya, Tavyomi Chasim. He signs his name as Tavyomi. So Amar Baravashi says to himself, Man Chasim Tavyomi Barabanan. Who amongst the Rabbanan signs his name this way? No, it's me. I sign my name Tavyomi. Shmami no lididi kaimeli shaita. So I see that it's my time. There's something great in this hour that I can go and be the Rosh Hashiva there. So he got up also. He went to Masa Mechasya. Ad also, by the time he traveled and came there, Imnu Rabbanon Lo'isr Ravachim Medifti Beresha. The Rabbanon took account and they decided that they're going to appoint Ravachim Medifti as the Rosh Hashiva. Kiv and the Shamid also. So when they heard that Mar Baravashi is coming, Shadur Zuged Rabbanon Legabei Limluchibei. They sent a pair of Chachamim to Mar Baravashi to consult with him that he should agree that Ravachim should be appointed. So Akve. Mar Baravashi held back these two Chachamim and he didn't send them back with any message. So they didn't get back any message. They sent another pair to ask Mar Baravashi. Akve Gabei, he held them back as well. Ad the Malu Bey Asara. He sent another message until he had 10 Chachamim that came to him from the city of Masa Mechasya. Kivin the Malu Bey Asara. Now he had 10 students in front of him. Pasach. Pasachu v'tane v'darash. He got up and he taught and he darshened. And the reason why he waited until he had 10 students from Masa Mechasya, lefisha ein paischem bekala pachas masara. You don't begin a shir with less than 10 students. Okay, so then once he became the Rosh Hashiva, because he already began darshening in front of these 10 students, so it remained that he was the Rosh Hashiva. After this, Kari Ravacha Nafshei. Ravacha said on himself, if the Eibusher does for you something like this, that you get pushed off, it's bad for you, you're not going to be promoted again very quickly. And someone that gets promoted, it's not going to be very quickly that you're going to be removed from this position. So this is the story of the Shaita that gave this Nevuah to Mar Baravashi. What's a case of Nuvuah by a little child? The daughter of Rav Chisda, she was sitting in the lap of her father. In front of Rav Chisda was sitting his students, Rava and Rami Bachome. Allah, so Rav Chisda says to his daughter, Man minai boys, who of these do you want to marry? Amrale Tarvayu, she says both of them. And Rava said, Bava Basra, and I'll be second. And that's what ended up happening. She married one and then she married another. Now the Gemara before brought a statement from Rav Avdimi from Haifa, so brings another one. Rav Avdimi de min Haifa koydem sheyechal adam v'yishteh. Before a person eats and drinks, yeshloi shtei levavos. His heart is like divided into two, because the person is not settled, so his heart is like pulled in two opposite directions. After a person eats and drinks, then he has one settled heart. Shenema, the pasuk says, Ish nevov yilvav. Now, what does it mean that a person that's nevov yilvav? What the pasuk means to say is that the person that's empty, he's hollow inside, is an yilvav. It means he has two hearts. Because uksev nevov luchais. It says that the mizbeach was built nevov luchais. What does this mean? Metargaminon chalil luchin. It means that it should be hollow inside. So over here it also means a person that's hollow and didn't eat yet. Rav Yeshua said, Haragel b'yayin, a person that's accustomed to drinking wine, even if his heart is clogged up like a virgin, the wine that he drinks will open him up. Shenema v'tiroish, the wine, yunoivev b'sulais, will open up even a heart totally clogged. Now the Gemara comes back to other halachas regarding the properties when you divide. And so the Gemara says like this: Rav Yeshua said, Pshita, this halacha is clear and obvious. So what happens here if you're dividing inheritance, and there are brothers and there's a b'chor? The b'chor gets a double portion. So he wants to have the two portions that he gets from the inheritance, that these two fields should be together in the same place. So this is Pashat, Chelik B'chor v'Chelik Pashat. This B'chor that gets the double portion, the portion that he's getting as a B'chor, and then the other portion that he gets like all the brothers, Yavira le'achad metzra. We give it to him that it should be in one border, one area, not two fields in two separate areas. This is similar to the halacha that we learned about bar metzra. When you sell a property, you give the first rights to the neighbor. But the question though is, Yavam Mai. In the case of a Yavam, the Yavam inherits all the rights of the Yerusha of his brother. So now, this Yavam, when he gets a double portion for himself, and what he also inherits from his brother, these two portions, can he demand to take them in the same place? Or no? Or the brothers could say, there's your portion, there's the portion that you get from your brother, and they'll be in two different locations. Amar Abaye says, it's the same halacha that applies here. My time, why is this? B'chor karya rachmana. The Torah refers to the Yavam as the B'chor. This is a pasuk the Gemara is going to quote here. It says, "V'hoya ha-b'chor asher teled yakom Hashem achiv." The simple pshat of the pasuk there, actually, the word b'chor refers to the firstborn child that the Yavama gives birth to. But the Gemara here dashens that it's connected to the pasuk before. V'yiv malay isha v'hoya b'chor. Who is the one that's miyav in this woman? It's the b'chor. So in other words, the b'chor himself is called. The Yavam himself, that is called a b'chor. So therefore, he gets both portions together like a b'chor. However, Rava disagrees. The pasuk taka says v'hoya b'chor, that he's going to be like a b'chor. He gets the portion of his brother as well. But it says v'hoya. That means haviyasai ki b'chor. The Yerusha, the fact that he gets double, that's like b'chor. But But his rights, though, that he should get both portions together, the way it's divided, that he doesn't get like a b'chor. It's a person that bought a property on the border of his father's property. Now the father passed away, and now the brothers want to divide the father's properties. When they came to divide, so he says to his brothers, divide it, that I should get a field by the border of my father where I have already another field. Rabbi says about this that he has the right to demand that, because this is an example that we say kaifin al midas daim. We force the brothers to do this and not to act like people of Zdaim. And Rashi says daim is when it's a case of zen nana v'zel chaser. For him, it's a benefit to have this property, and for the brothers, there's no loss involved. So why not give him the property near his property that he already owns? Maskefla Rav Yosef, but Rav Yosef asks on this. Amri leyachi, but the brothers can claim and say, Ma'alinin leiluya. For us, this property that you're demanding to have near your property is very, very valuable for us. Kinichsi de Bei Bar Marian, like the expensive properties of Bar Marian. In other words, they can say maybe this property is better quality and has better mazel. Rashi actually says this refers to a property that relies on rainwater, and they say this property here gets more rain in this area, and therefore we're not giving it to you. Says the Gemara Ve'ilchasik Rav Yosef. The halach is like Rav Yosef, that they can claim that this property is better quality. Now, what's if the case is Trei Arase at Trei Nagri? There are two properties, and each property has its own water canal that it gets water from it. And one of them has a property on one of the sides of these properties, and he wants to have that one of these properties that has the water canal for himself. And he says to the brothers, listen, this property that I'm demanding of you that I should get my portion here has a water canal, but the other property right near it also has a water canal. So one is not better than the other. They're both the same. So give me this one with the water canal that's near my property. So in such a case, so the Gemara says that, second, where am I over here? Yeah, Amar Rabbe. So Rabbe says also the same thing here. Here as well, we force the brothers not to act like Zdaim. It's his benefit, and they have no loss, so they have to give him that property. But again, Maskav Lord Rav Yosef says, no, it's not Midas Daim, because Zimnin the high Madval, Va'ile Madval. If it's two different water canals that comes into these two properties, it's possible that one you'll have water to draw from it, and the other one the water will dry up. So you can't say that they're the same. So they can argue that no, this property is better, has more water there. And the Hilchas like Rav Yosef, we paskin like Rav Yosef. Now, the Gemara says, the third case, Tarti Achad Nagre. What's if you have two properties that are together, and there's one water canal right in the middle of them, and both of these properties take their water from this one water canal that's in the middle. And then you have one of the brothers that owns a property on one side. So he says, give me on this side that's near my property. And he says, look, you have no loss. It's one water canal that's in the middle. Whether you get this side, whether you get that side, it's the same one water canal that you're going to get the water from. What difference does it make to you? So over here, Rav Yosef actually agreed. So Amar Rav Yosef said, this is a case where I say, that there's no, we force them to give that property to him. There's no loss that they have for giving him this property. But Rabbi still asks and says, Matziyama, the other brother could say, Be'ina the Apisharisi. I want that you should actually get a property on the other side, and I should be in the middle. I should end up being with my property in the middle, and you're going to have a property on one side, and then a property on the other side, because why? Then you're going to have workers on one side, workers on another side, and that's a benefit to me, because now I have workers on both sides, and it's going to be more of a guards and protection for my property. So that's actually better for me this way. Now, the Gemara says we don't accept that. Taina v'hilchase Rav Yosef. The halacha still remains like Rav Yosef because afushi lav milsi. This taina that the brother says, I want to be in the center so I can have you on both of my sides to be protected by you. That's not a taina. You don't have any right to get that gain over here. If you have no loss by giving him his property on his side, that he should have one large property, so then you can't demand this to get an extra gain. It's like the Gemara, another example of properties. And here you have the picture in the Rashi. Chad gisa nagra v'chad gisa nara. If you have properties, and on one side there's a river, and on one side there's a water canal that takes the water from the river and it goes through this canal. So if you see here in the picture in Rashi, according to Rashi's opinion, so the river is on the Mizrach side, and the water canal is on the Tzofan side, on the north side. So now what happens in such a case? Any way you're going to split it, it's not going to be fair. So Rashi says, if you're going to split it from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, a line in the middle from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, it comes out that one of them gets a little bit of the river by his field, and the other one gets the river and the water canal. If you split it with a line going from Tzafon to Darim, then it's even worse. One of them is getting the whole river for himself and a little bit of the water canal, and the other one just gets no river and a little bit of the water canal. So what do? So therefore what we do is, Palgan la bekarnazul. You split it with lines, with diagonal lines that goes to the corners. And as you have it over here in Rashi, you have to split it in 8. Reuven gets a little portion near the river, and Shimon gets a portion near the river. And the same with the water canal. Reuven gets a portion near the water canal, and Shimon does. And then the rest also, you have to split it in that way, so each one should get a fair amount of the water canal and from the river that's on the Mizrach. That's Rashi's pshat. In the Gemara, there are other Mefarshim, other Rishonim over here. Taisus say they have different ways how to design this the story here in the Gemara, but this is Rashi's pshat.